Good evening, everyone, Facebook, family.
Hello,
those
everyone.
Those of you out there in social media land. Today is Thursday, April 19th.
It's always right there.
Yeah, it's right. Oh, yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. Thursday, April 19th, the Thursday after tax day, the year of our Lord, 2018. So, as you know, we're Tony, Nicole, Davis, your parents, family and marriage and family mentors. I got to get myself together.
Yeah, take a minute.
Yeah, I need to take a minute.
Yourself together.
Because I don't even know who we are, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Because of what I'm trying to do. Look, I was really late trying to get my water before this thing started. But we are marriage and family mentors, and as you know, we come to you every Thursday evening, 7:00 p.m. Eastern time to talk about one of the topics from our. Really, right now we're talking about one of the topics from our books.
Yes.
Whether it's the marriage book, whether it's the parenting book, and whether it's the leadership book, and soon we'll be talking about the chapter in our anthology that we took part of, Speak to the Mountains. But this month, as you know, we've been talking from the topic of our parenting book, and we'll be discussing that this week and also next week to wrap it out. And what we're going to say is, look, the reason we do this is because we know that we're qualified to do so. If you listen to the past webinars, I used to talk about how and why we waited to write a parenting book, even after years of requests to do so. And I used to make a negative statement, but Nicole and my youngest son, Josh, they admonished me and said, you know what? They just said, cut that out, or don't say it that way. Then, of course, thankfully, Josh gave me some instructions. He said, you know what? I mean, you can say the same thing, but say it in the positive. So here's what I'll say this week. We waited until our children achieved to make sure that we were qualified to write a book, because we didn't want to write a book and it didn't work for our own children. We wanted to make sure that we had the receipts so we could say, yes, so we're going to tell you how to parent, or we give some advice on how to parent and tell you about some of the things that we did. Even though we knew the principles were good, we wanted to make sure that it worked in our own children before we told others that this is what you may want to do and this will work. So that's what we did. But Nick, you want to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight?
Yes, tonight we're going to talk about parenting is a team effort, which is what we demonstrate here. A team effort. You need a team, and a team is normally more than one. So from a parenting perspective,
you said normally the team is always more than one, isn't it?
Well, if I say me, myself, and I, people can, me, the Holy Ghost, Jesus, Father God. So
okay,
you can get okay, but human beings, more than one is a team. And so it is really important, because a lot of times we don't have a team helping us that we have orchestrated. Sometimes it happens by default, but we're saying do it intentionally, like want a team, like seek people out. And so that's a chapter in our book. Can you pass me the book, please?
I certainly can.
That's a chapter in our book saying parenting is a team effort. If you do not have this, or if you know someone who could use assistance with parenting, we highly recommend Parenting Done Right. Is hard work, but it's worth it. It's written as a devotional, so they're very short. Each day has so much that, it's a topic that is talking about. There's only so much information that's there. And then there's a prayer. We did the prayer in this particular book because we know a lot of times parents don't know how to pray for their children. No matter what the issue is, you really don't know how to get specific about really bombarding the throne of grace. He said, come in your time of need and ask what you will. We don't know how to do that. We just say, Lord Jesus, help me. But we want you to be specific with whatever the issue is. You can take that directly to the throne of grace.
Oh, and also in addition to that, Nicole, a lot of times we'll tell people just pray. You need to pray for your children.
Right.
And they say, okay, I need to know how to do that. But then I know I need to do that. But it's like, well, what do I say?
Right. And
so what we've done, we've given you some prayers. Some are short and some are little medium size, and some are quite lengthy. Well, not really. None of them are lengthy where it will take you more than a couple minutes to pray them. But what we've done is we give you some practical things to pray over your children, and you can pray them in the morning or in the beginning of the day, as we said, as a prayer of petition. Then as you go throughout the day, you can pray it as a prayer of thanksgiving. It's really, and it'll get you in the habit of praying for your children. Of course, this is just a guide. You feel free to add on to it as you wish. But you know, it's something to get you started. But like I said, in a lot of cases, you may feel like this is sufficient, and it really just get you in the habit of praying for your children. And tonight, as Nicole said, what we're talking about is one of the topics from our book. And this topic tonight, parenting is a team effort, is actually day 2 of our book, and it's on page 9 for those of you who have it, and for those of you who will get the book. And quite frankly, when we talked about this, we really talked about the old African proverb where it talks about it takes a village to raise a child. And we know that this is extremely true, that really nobody is fully equipped.
Right.
I mean, really, I don't think there's any individual, you know, speaking to the single parents or even a couple that's fully equipped to do everything on their own. Because if you even let's back it up a little more, we talked about this. Regardless of who you are, you know, we'll say that experience is the best teacher.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of times we'll say, well, it doesn't have to be your experience that you learn from. You can always learn from somebody else's experience. And of course, if you've grown up, if you're the age of majority, or even not the age of majority, but you have children, obviously you've had some kind of parental influence in your life. You watched your own parents, right?
Right.
And whether good or bad, regardless of what the situation was, here's one thing we do know, that parenting is one of those things that you're not prepared for until you get your own on-the-job training.
How about that?
Yeah, you regardless of who you are, what kind of, like I say, even if you had the greatest parents in the world, when you get your own kids, you'll realize that, you know what, there's some things I just didn't know, things I didn't expect. So, and really, you have to rely on someone else to help you become better at the craft. I mean, we relied on my mom initially, big time. When we introduced the book, we talked about how she came and joined us in Spain to actually help us.
Hey, son.
Hey, with the birth of our first child, because quite frankly, we had, I mean, if you want to talk about clueless, we were.
Yes.
If we would have got knowledge, we'd have been clueless. We were so far on the side of the negative that when it came to child rearing, I mean, even simple things like how do you properly pick a baby up, and then what do the cries mean, and how to do things with the milk and all that other kind of stuff.
Yes.
I mean, we had no clue. So so what you want to do is really think about that and realize that there are people around who can assist you in that endeavor.
And as you were talking, it just made me think about back in high school, you know, when you take that life class or something, and you do the simulation.
I'm from Baltimore City. We don't get luxuries like that.
Okay. Well, we had that. Hey, Carl.
Hey, Carl, how you doing?
We had that where, you know, you got the little egg or something, and then you gotta carry it around. Because nowadays, I think it's even like real babies. Like the baby can cry. You really need to change the diaper.
Real doll babies, not real babies.
Yeah, real doll babies.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
sorry.
yeah, real
Yeah,
babies.
the simulation is real. But when I was growing up, it was like an egg or something, a ball. I don't know. But you needed to carry it around with you, and that was supposed to deter you from having babies. But there's really nothing, as you said, that can prepare anybody to raise children. And so, of course, there's a natural expectation that family is going to help you.
Yeah.
Right?
To some extent, I know a lot of times you expect them to help out with
no,
things.
It's a natural expectation. Come on.
I guess it all depends on which family you're in. I mean, I don't know.
Okay. Tony's family, his mom was right there from coming to Spain.
Okay, well, let me back up. So when you say there's a natural expectation for them to help you, how are you defining help? Maybe the
babysitting.
Yeah.
When you have your baby shower, who's there? Your family, mostly your family and your friends. You're expecting them to help you out. A bag of flour. Okay.
Yeah, financially, right?
No, no.
But I know what you mean. But yeah, babysitting. Look, well, first of all, you expect to help because when you had that baby shower, you expect them all to bring you gifts to get you started with the clothes.
Yeah, and if you need them at any time. But what really is fascinating when you have complete strangers that are willing to watch your children for you, or willing to help you raise your children, or willing to take on certain responsibilities where your children are concerned.
Or extended family members as well.
Yes, extended family. And when I think back to that time, I can't even imagine what child rearing would have been like had we not had that additional assistance. I have no idea. It
would have been, I have an idea. It wouldn't have been good.
No, it wouldn't have. It wouldn't have.
It wouldn't have been good. We don't know how bad it would have been, but the one thing we can come into agreement on, we know if we were left to our own, it would not have been good. We so desperately needed that assistance.
Right.
But what I want to talk about, and I know this is really one of the things that you're really passionate about, is that sometimes parents are reluctant to listen to the advice of others.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Since that's your passion, I'll let you go ahead and talk about that, babe.
Well, okay. So when you think about it, especially in the school system, because I actually used to be a substitute teacher in the public school system, and even in Job Corps, I was a substitute teacher, and in military school, I was a substitute teacher. And you can see the shift. There used to be a time back when I was growing up when if the teacher said your child was doing something,
you believe
or
the
a coach said,
then
the parent and the coach, they were on the same side. Like the parent came, listened, and you were going to get in trouble for whatever it is you did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was substitute teaching when the kids were small, and I think it's even more so now because you see issues on TV, social media that display some of this atrocity. But the parent will almost automatically, and I won't say it's across the board, but a lot of times will side with the child without even knowing what happened. The child can come home and say something happened, and the child will go up to the school and cause all kind of ruckus with the principal, with the teacher. And the dynamics have shifted.
Mm-hmm.
These are people who have chosen professions to work with children. In some kind of way, they become the enemy.
The villains, yes.
As opposed to additional support in helping us. So if they are giving...
But with that being said, let me just interject. But even in our own children, we have dealt with some villains in the school system. So the statement that you're making is not like a complete exoneration of all.
Well, no, but that's not the majority.
Right,
and so
right.
I'm only
I'm just throwing
about,
that out. I'm just throwing that out. Right.
And you got that in here to talk about that later.
Do I really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're there to give us the additional support that we need, and we don't partner with them like we used to. Our children, it's almost like they can do no wrong, and we know that's a lie.
That's a lie. I mean, because you know that even just living with them in your own house,
mm-hmm.
that they don't just do everything like the way they're
mm-hmm.
supposed to.
Or a parent will say, "Don't tell me about my child."
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to help, we're even reluctant. When I say we, I'm just saying people in general. If you're out in a store, if you see a child doing something wrong in the street, in the park, we are very reluctant to say anything because you don't know how that parent is going to, what you say, pop off, how that parent is going to respond to you
mm-hmm.
in your effort to help their child, stop their child from doing something wrong. It's really sad where we are today.
Absolutely.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something. I feel like you were slowing me down.
I'm in complete agreement with, we talked about this on many occasions, so I'm in complete agreement with what you're saying here.
Yeah, so the takeaway from that is that we don't have what it takes to raise our children by ourselves. We don't have eyes in the back of our heads. I know our parents used to tell us that. Maybe not yours. But they used to tell us they had eyes in the back of their heads, like they could see us.
My mom didn't lie to me like that.
If anybody can vouch for that signed on, please let me know if you ever heard that. My mom has eyes in the back of her head. But what would happen is there would be people that was going to help in the neighborhood. Like you knew you didn't have to take care of everything. Well, now today, parents are just not interested in that.
Yeah, parents, people want to be islands. As a matter of fact, it's like, don't tell me about my kids, and I don't even want you to know about my children.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, as we talked about even discussing this particular topic, we talked about in divorce situations, the core standard is what? Best interest of the child.
Right.
And as parents, what we need to be doing is always thinking about what's in the best interest
mm-hmm.
of the child.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, let me. You want to talk more about that? Or you want me to?
Well, I was just going to end, and you can go ahead and get ready to do that. But when we do that, when we don't allow people to help us, we're really limiting our children
mm-hmm.
because we're limited, and there's only so much that we can do in and of ourselves because we come with limited knowledge. And so when we don't allow people to give us advice, correct our children, or to tell us things that are going wrong with our children or where they need help, because even today, if our children have learning disabilities and all that,
mm-hmm.
parents are in denial, like they don't want to receive it. They don't want the extra help because of the stigma or things attached to it. And so what does that do? It limits your child if there's more that can be done for them. So go ahead. I could keep going on.
Yeah, I know. And that'll take up the whole 30 minutes. Huh?
Okay.
So
thanks, Jay, for the backup. And that's still my family, though. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but and day two, the scripture that we put here, and you may say at the first glance it doesn't like a parenting scripture, but here's what we want to glean from it. It's 1 Thessalonians 2:8. It says, "Having so fond an affection for you, we are well pleased to impart to you not only the gospel of God, but also our own lives, because you have become very dear to us. And the thing that we want to point out here is where it says, not only the gospel of God, or we want to impart to you not only the gospel of God, but also our own lives. See, a lot of times when we think about helping somebody, especially with Christian folks, right?
Mm-hmm.
We love to just bark out some gospel orders.
Right.
But in this particular, he said, we actually gave you our lives.
Right.
In other words, you got to give your life to someone else. And here you get people from the Church of Thessalonica. And it's like, hey, we given our lives to you. So they were from that church. They weren't his immediate.
Who is he?
Paul.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't his, and I guess talking about Timothy as well, but they weren't his immediate relatives,
mm-hmm.
but yet they could still sow their lives into these people.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things we want to point out is that you can welcome other people to pour their lives into you, but also be willing to pour your life into somebody else. You see somebody who's in need. And
that's nice.
Yeah. You
mm-hmm.
see them in need, and especially whatever resources you may have, make sure that you can give to them wherever you can.
Mm-hmm.
And because, one of the things that you like to talk about is my foot is actually falling asleep. You're not talking about that, but my foot is falling asleep on this chair as I'm trying to stretch my long legs out. I'm 5'8" for those of you who don't know when I say my long legs. But you talk about how in times of need, when people get involved, they usually get involved in two instances. You said they get involved when they see neglect,
mm-hmm.
and they get involved when they see promise in your
mm-hmm.
child.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll take the positive to one first. When you see promise in a child, people are normally willing to get involved because they see the child is doing so well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just, and I don't really blame them, because it's just really easy to support someone who's doing well, especially when you see promise in a child.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people may have ulterior motives. They want to be attached to the child, because, and you see that in athletics a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You see promise in the kid, you think he may go pro. So you see people, they really want to latch on because they hope they can get broke off,
right.
in the future, these things of that nature. And they want to say, I was there with you and I helped you with this.
Right.
But when neglect is the issue, people step in and say, the babies or the children aren't eating, the children don't have X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
And then people want to get involved at that time. But the reality is, you don't want neglect to be the reason that people are coming to help you.
Right. Right. And you also don't want people helping your children in spite of you. Like if you have a child that has promise, be a part of that child's promise. Be the parent that's making sure the child gets whatever extra help that they need, and not that somebody sees it and feel like they got to step in because you refuse to allow the child to participate in activities, events, or be on teams that will allow them to expand or get greater exposure or be greater developed in a better way. You don't want people entering your life in spite of you. It's always good when we're partnering with those who are helping, because you need to know what's going on. If somebody's taking an interest in your child, you don't just let your child go and be with that person for no reason. It doesn't matter, because sometimes, and this is sad to think about, parents also see their children see dollar signs with their children.
Yeah, remember the one guy from Dallas Cowboys tackle? He had to get a restraining order against his parents
mm-hmm.
because they were just fighting over his money.
Mm-hmm.
So people can have ulterior motives, but when it comes to this whole partnership thing,
mm-hmm.
we think it's very important that the parents come together and get a game plan for their children. Now, granted, it's easier to do when you're in a traditional nuclear family, and you have mom and dad in the same household. But even in those instances where the parents are not together,
mm-hmm.
whether they were never married or divorced,
mm-hmm.
you still have to come together and get a game plan for your children and really figure out what the strengths are of each parenting, what the strengths are of the children.
Right. So when we talk about parenting or teaming, parenting is a team effort. That team starts with the mom and dad.
It starts with the mom and dad. Who's going to go on the field trip?
Yes.
PTA.
Yes. And how difficult is that even to get the mother and the father on the same page? So we're talking about an intact family first, because you alluded to when they're not together, because that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, two different roads you can take with them. Coming together to get that game plan.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking about it first, just with parents who are together,
mm-hmm.
because a lot of times you got to figure out who has what strengths to do what with the kids. Because and I love it now, you see fathers doing their daughter's hair and doing a fantastic job. So if you can do hair better than me, why not let you do the hair? If you can cook better than me, why not let you cook? Laundry, grocery shopping, whatever it is. If you're better with homework, whatever that subject is, why not let you do that? And so what has happened and what I've seen, and I believe,
and even welcome it. You said let you, but how about even welcome it?
Right. But welcome it. Yes. It would be, if the father is saying, "Oh, I'll do that," as opposed to, "Could you do that?" It just depends on how it's being presented. Right. But a lot of times, I lost my train of thought.
You're just talking about the team effort and strengths, and we're talking about maybe homework or field trips or things of that nature. And you really started going down the path of things, traditional roles. You gave the example of fathers doing hair.
Yeah, and just really understanding what the strengths are of each parent. And in the early years, because I just remember when we were bringing up Jay and Josh, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. But that was something we had to agree on. I couldn't just decide, well, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom because I want to take care of the kids. No, your support of that gave me the freedom and the flexibility to be at home so that I could go on the field trips, so that I could get to know the teachers and all the things that I said I wanted to do. Well, how much can you imagine what that would have been like if he was against me doing that and I was determined to do it?
That would have been all kind of friction.
Yeah, and that's not a team effort. And then that causes problems in the relationship.
Major problems.
Or if we didn't agree on how we were going to parent the kids, because that's another area of conflict for parents, based on how you were raised or how I was raised.
Yeah. So with that being said, the husband and wife, the parents, mother and father, have to get on the same page. When we talk about the team effort, you guys are the first partakers of that principle. You guys have got to come together. And one of the things that you like to talk about is that even when the children are waking up, right? That even
the
with
kids
that,
should be on
both parents' mind.
Right.
It's a priority. And so,
right.
So and with us, you took the kids earlier. Not necessarily not that I wasn't there, and it's not that I wasn't there when they were.
Well, you were
babies.
in law school.
Yeah, but it's not that I was there. I wasn't there when they were babies, and it's not that you weren't there when they became teenagers. It's just that the major focus for the impartation switch. But by the same token, you got to be looking and say, hey, what's happening with these children, and how can I make sure that the parenting effort is not a burden on my spouse, or in the case of the parent, where the parents are not together, the mother or the father. And even with that being said, if the parents are not together, don't ever take the attitude that when it comes to raising children, this is not my week.
Right. Or that the dad is babysitting. That fathers, you do not babysit your own children. So I have the kids tonight.
You used to get that a lot when you were doing the parenting classes for the courts, right?
Yeah. I just heard that a lot. And fathers don't babysit. But you said something really key, Tony, that the children needs to be on both parents' minds in the morning. What is the picture we have? The mom gets up, she gets out of there, she goes, get the kids' clothes together, she gets breakfast together, get their backpacks together. It is the mom, and the dad is somewhere, but he's not in that hustle and bustle. And we're saying, you need to be, it's a partnership where the two of you are saying, what part will you take with the kids each day? Who's taking them to practice? Who's picking them up? It is not just one person who should be doing that predominantly all the time.
And the real sad part about that picture you just painted, this is a very accurate scenario. It's really tough when both parents are working, because a lot of times, even when you talk about, you gave the morning a routine, but even the afternoon routine, like cooking and cleaning and some of those other efforts, that's still a shared responsibility, because especially when both parents, like I said, both parents are working, but a lot of men, we have the mindset that that's her responsibility. But
and you weren't taught to do differently.
Yeah, but the reality is, if we had that mindset of his and her responsibilities, then she wouldn't be working. So that's a whole nother topic. If we're going to be so dogmatic about that standard, right? So but with that being said, but we talk about seeking outside help. The mother and father, or the parents, the husband and wife, definitely have to be on the same team. But when we talk about getting outside help, it goes way beyond just saying, well, I need a break, let me send them to mom, which is usually grandmom's house, or the grandparents' house. Help goes way beyond that,
So who else can help? Who else can be a part of the team? So we've dealt with the mother and the father. Who else can be on the team?
I guess most do white kids have godparents?
I don't know. Can somebody answer that? I think they do. I think they do, but I'm not white.
You know, as I was going to say, the godparents. I mean, it just came to me that I've never heard a white person say my godparents.
I think I have.
At baby showers or weddings, I've never.
Can anybody vouch for that?
All right. Well, godparents, right? Godparents can help. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Teachers can definitely play a part.
Mm-hmm.
Neighbors, coaches, friends,
Mm-hmm.
tutors.
Oh, tutors.
Yeah, tutors, and really and some of those people that we just named, you may say, I don't know, I don't have that kind of people in my circle of influence. Well, then if that is a fact for you, then
Mm-hmm.
we have to tell you that you just simply need to expand your circle. I mean,
Yep.
there's no easy answer. There's no way to sugarcoat it. You have to expand your circle of influence for the prosperity of your children.
Yep. And you need to ask. You need to let people know what you need, whether it's at church, at the school, whatever sports your children are involved in, whatever extracurricular activities, at the PTA meeting. You need to let your needs be known. And I think that's another issue within the Black community. We don't like to ask for help. We don't like to ask for outside help. We don't want people to know that we don't know something or we're struggling with something.
And the thing about it, nobody knows it all. Even if you look at the way the government is designed, you know, we elect these presidents expecting them to have all this knowledge, but regardless of how you feel about any particular president.
Thanks, Josh.
Here's the issue. Here's the fact.
I guess they don't.
Every president.
White people don't have.
Is that what Josh just said?
Okay, go
Every
ahead.
president has a cabinet. Because he needs people to give him or her, eventually her, advice in all these areas, right?
Right.
So, but why do we think as parents we have all the knowledge every single thing? So these people that I just mentioned, like coaches, teachers, friends, tutors, whatever the case may be, they know something that you don't know.
Right.
And so
they all do.
They all do. So it behooves you to expose your children to those. And you got to vet the people to make sure that they belong in your circle. But that's right. Your responsibility. But we're going to stipulate that they've been properly vetted. And then you expose them to your children and children to them.
Well, we're not going to stipulate that.
No.
We'll talk about it.
For the sake of this, if someone is a child's godparent, we're going to stipulate that you vetted them before you said Daquan and
you knew them already.
Shaquana are the godparents of the children,
yes,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
Even our godparents are John and Phyllis Jean. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're going to stipulate that.
Right.
Or if you're letting friends impart things into your children, we're going to stipulate that. For the sake of this conversation, that you've already vetted them before you start.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Well, and see, that's a sticky area because a lot of wrongdoing happens in the family, happens with friends, happens with coaches. So you just have to stay involved. You have to communicate. You got to watch your children. Behavior changes. Like you get ready to send me down a whole path to make sure that your children are even safe with people that you believe you know well.
But that's on you. That's on you. Before you turn your children over to them, that's on you to do that.
Well, you may not know. I mean, nobody knowingly turns their children over to people that they think is going to do them wrong. You don't.
Yeah, you may not know, but what I'm also saying is sometimes you don't know because you didn't do your homework. Okay. Go ahead.
No, I don't. Well, because what homework is there to do?
You have to spend time with them, and
you can do that.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm talking about friends and family members, coaches. Look, the people at church, you think you know these people and how many children. You just have to talk to your children. You got to stay involved. You got to watch for behavior changes. You got to watch for mood, attitude changes, all of that. You have to study your children. I mean, that's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line.
And make sure that you've talked to them already about right and wrong touching, being comfortable telling, like, don't be afraid. You have to have those conversations.
Yeah, we talked about it. You got to have an open line of communication with your children.
Right.
But even with that open line of communication, one of the things we want to caution parents about is, as we're telling you, to let other people help you and impart it to your children. Put your ego in check. Because sometimes, when you expose your children to some people who may know more than you, and because they do, they don't necessarily.
And your kids love them. Like them, want to be around.
Well, it may not necessarily even be more. Maybe just something different, right? But for the sake of this, we're going to say more, and they like dealing with them on a particular subject more than you.
Right.
Rejoice in that. Don't get defensive. Don't get what word am I looking for? Don't let your ego
intimidated.
Yeah, intimidated. Thank you. Don't get intimidated, because look, we all know the definition of an expert.
It's somebody else.
It's just simply somebody else.
Right.
When somebody else can come and give you that same information that you rejected from one person because of the source, you know, it's like, you know, you get upset because it's fresh manna coming from them. You say, I've been telling them for years, and now you tell them the same thing. And they
just be glad they're getting it.
Be glad they receive the information.
Right.
And be glad that that they are going to and not only that they got it, but that they got it now that they're going to actually implement it and do something with it.
Right. Right. So if you take the proactive steps to first make sure that you and your spouse are on the same page with where it is that your children are going, what they need, and how you plan to get them there together by who's doing what responsibilities. That's your first step. The second step is to look for that outside help, those people that can help you. Because I remember when Jay needed math tutoring, we just couldn't do it. We could not. We tried. We were getting frustrated. And we realized we are not the ones. We need help. And thank God for his godfather.
Who has a PhD in economics.
He stepped right in, and he was so patient with Jay. He just spent the time. Jay was in elementary. And what would have happened? What would have happened, Tony, had he not come along, had Papa not come along and help? So consider it. If you've never thought about letting other people help you raise your children, I mean, beyond it takes a village, which we never allowed the village in, which is interesting.
Yeah. We want them in when we need some money, though. But that's a whole nother webinar. But look, but even with that being said, talking about our children, and even as your children get older, right? Because they may come to you for advice on other things, and hopefully they use the lines of communication are still open. But even with things like
Jay said, I would still be in a math class. Oh, Jay, we thank God for Papa, don't we? Okay, go ahead.
But even with older children, like they may come to you with advice on adult relationships, right? They may come to you with seeking some advice on investing, taxes, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But expanding your network, now you can still help them by encouraging them to seek people outside of you as well.
Right.
Because they may not know. And granted, but you keep the open lines of communication because you may be the best person for them or you may not be. But even as they get older, they're not an island. They still don't know it all, and they're still learning new things. Because like I said, investment and taxes are just things that your kids are really dealing with at 22 and 23 and 24, even or 19 and 20 that they didn't deal with when they were 14, 15, and 16.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that they get the most competent help even as they mature. And so expanding your network. So I guess what I'm saying is one of the things that you can do is make sure that you expand your network so that you can help your children, regardless of their age, whether they're 6 or 26.
And you're always going to need help no matter how old they are. Even now, as adult children, you can still need to find resources or help for whatever it is your adult children may need because you may not know. And don't be afraid to seek help. Don't be afraid.
All right, Base, let's wrap this up.
Okay, so we think that concludes for our session today. We do want to share a couple things with you. This Saturday, we are having a book signing and a family discussion, and the topic is going to be really good. It's developing and strengthening a kingdom perspective in your home. So if you're in the DMV area and you have some time on Saturday, you want to get to meet us, sharing this discussion, please join us. We will be at 9500 Marlboro Pikes, Suite 1011, TAC 11. It's Dominion International Ministry. Well, you can only enter. They don't say it like that.
Okay.
That's how.
But I'm saying, but when you see the board,
there's no S. It's Suite 1011.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's not two separate suites. It's one suite.
The building on the corner.
So if you can be there with us, we'd love it. We will be there from 11:30 to 12:30 with the discussion, and then the book signing starts at 2 o'clock. And all this information is on our Facebook page, Empower to Engage, and our website, empowertoengage.com. And then we have coming up in June, but we are already taking, we have it out there, those who want to reserve their spot. It's the Love Lab. In June, we're having a conversation. It's a hot topic. What is it, Tony?
The topic is the difference between being affectionate, intimate, and sexual with your spouse.
So we're looking for couples to join us for that conversation. It will be a nice, intimate gathering where the conversation will be free-flowing and we'll...
An adult.
An adult. An adult. No adult beverages, but just adults. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh, but before we go, just want to remind you again, you can get all of our books on Amazon.com. You can get them by typing in the titles of the books, which is Marriage Done Right is Hard Work, but it's Worth It. Then we also have, as we discussed tonight, Parenting Done Right is Hard Work, but it's Worth It. Yeah, Leadership Done Right is Hard Work, but it's Worth It. You can type the titles of those books, or you can simply type in our names. Tony and Nicole Davis, and those books will come up. What do you want to say about Speak to the Mountains, babe?
Well, this is our other book. It's an anthology. There are over 30 authors in this book, and we're actually going to be talking. We're going to be interviewing people authors out of this book
next month,
and a number of other people. We're really excited for the month of May, and we'll talk more about that next week.
But if you want that book, you can still get that book off of our website.
Yes, speaktothemountains.com.
You can order that book there as well.
Yes. So that's it. Dennis, we're done. But you can watch the recording. Thank you for joining. We thank everybody for being with us tonight. Have a good one.
Adios.